Good morning, friends. It is an exciting day for me in the house because today, for the first time in 6 years, I have both of my boys home to celebrate their birthdays together. They're right in between each other, about 4 days apart, and today's that middle day. They're both home, so we are going to have a joint birthday celebration. And I said I would make 2 quiches today. They're inviting some friends, brothers coming home to celebrate with them. So we are just gonna do quiche and carrot cake today. So I might be bringing you 2 videos, but probably a couple years ago, I was on a quiche kick and I probably made it like every weekend, and we haven't made one in a while. So I'm going to bring you guys my favorite recipe. It's like a bacon onion explosion quiche. So the first thing that we have to do though is get going on making the pie crust. So I will share with you also my pie crust recipe. Okay, for this recipe you need a cup of unsalted butter, flour, salt, and water, and a splash of vinegar. So I'm going to add 2.5 cups of flour. I'm going to add my salt, just like a teaspoon or so of salt. Give that a quick mix. And then we're just going to cut our butter into cubes, and then it's up to you how you want to process it. A lot of people use like their food processor to get their butter. You want this ice cold too, by the way, right out of the fridge. Which I use Kerrygold butter, and it softens so fast once you take it out of the fridge. Not like that fake butter. So I'm just gonna chop it up into little cubes. We'll put it in and we'll mix it in. I tend to do mine more often than not just by hand, mixing in the butter. You could use one of those pie crust cutters. I got one of those and I found I can do it just faster with my hands. And I don't have a food processor, I just have a blender. Okay, once you have all your butter in there, I just kind of toss the butter just to get it initially coated. Just take my rings off. And then just work it in until all the flour is incorporated with the butter. You kind of want to go quickly because you don't want your butter to melt. And until you get like little crummy, flour bits. This is a very, very flaky, buttery pie crust recipe. It's absolutely divine. We love it. Just working that flour into the butter, or the butter into the flour. It's okay if you have some chunks left, but just the majority is worked in. I know I've never struggled with making pie crust, but I know some people do, so maybe this will just help, just showing how I do it. Okay, it's pretty much ready. I don't see any major chunks left. So let me show you. So it's kind of just really crumbly. There's a couple little chunks of butter left, but not too much. So at this point in time, we are going to add our water. And you're going to start with a 1/4 cup of ice cold water and going up to a 1/2 cup until you think you have what you need. I typically find a 1/4 cup's all I need. And I'm just going to mix that together until the pie crust holds. So a lot of people, I think the biggest mistake people make is they add too much water. Basically, you just want it until everything holds together and it's not crumbly anymore on you. So just work it in. And ultimately, it pretty much turns into a non-sticky dough. Okay. So if you break it apart and you have crumbs, that's not a good thing. So there's no crumbs falling out. And I can easily break it apart, but it's not sticky. This is sticky just because my hands were initially working it, but if I blot off my hands, I can basically take all that off. So now we're going to divide this into two, because this is a 2 pie crust recipe. So if you only wanted one, you could certainly half it, but the great thing about it is if you only need one, roll one out and roll it up between plastic sheets and put it in your freezer, and you have another one ready for when you need it. So I'm gonna just put these back in the bowl and set them in the fridge, cover them, and they'll sit there while I get the quiche ingredients ready. Okay, the first thing that I'm gonna do is get my bacon going. We're not eating this until lunchtime, so I'm just gonna have the quiches ready and sitting in the fridge so that they can go in the oven later. It gives me time to also get the cake going. So this is our homegrown bacon from our red wattles that we grew out 2 years ago. And you only need 8 slices of bacon. I'm of course gonna cook it all so Todd and I can have breakfast too. So I prefer to oven bake my bacon. It's just less messy for me, less mess to clean up. I can scrape the bacon grease off the cookie sheet really super easy. Save your bacon grease. It's excellent for cooking with. I'm interested to see what kind of bacon we're going to get out of those Idaho pasture pigs. They sure do look fat to me. I got the oven set to 400 and it's usually about 12 to 15 minutes. All right, but I am making 2 pie crusts today, or 2 quiches. I'm only gonna focus this recipe on the bacon onion one, but I'm also doing a spicy sausage. So again, from our homegrown pigs, I have a spicy breakfast sausage. I'm gonna use about half of this and get it frying up. Okay, well while that is cooking behind me, the rest of the ingredients are 8 large eggs, 2 onions, and we're gonna saute these in the sausage grease when that's done. 1.5 cups of half and half or heavy cream, 2 cups of flour, right? Yep, or not flour, cheese, and salt and pepper. It's pretty simple, but you won't believe how crazy good it is. So we're just gonna get these onions chopped up and ready to throw in the frying pan. And what else was I gonna say? Oh, for the sausage one, I think I'm gonna do some cheddar cheese as well, and probably throw in some cowboy candy. Oh, we like to do that a lot too, throw in cowboy candy with our quiches. And it just gives it that little sweet heat. And I tell you what, I can totally tell a difference in my eggs that my girls are laying being out on the mobile chicken coop versus my eggs that I got from my girls that were in the stationary chicken run. Just the amount of probably additional bugs and grass that they're getting all the time. Seeds and little nut bits. And it's pretty impressive. These are like orange. All right, so I've got all my eggs. We'll add our milk and we'll get this beaten up. And many times I do not have heavy cream or half and half on hand. I always use evaporated milk in that instance. Evaporated milk makes a fantastic substitute when you don't have half and half on hand. Okay, we're just gonna mix in some pepper. It's just your preference. There's gonna be no measurements for salt and pepper. And cheese. All right, so this one is ready until we're ready to add the sauteed onions and the bacon to it, and excellent. So now I can chop my other onions and get my other eggs beaten for the sausage one. Okay, the sausage is cooked. We're gonna take the sausage out and saute or caramelize, I should say, our onions. You want them nice and yummy. Okay, I think these onions are gonna be called done. They are pretty well done. I actually have my onions cut for the next batch, but I want to get this put together for you guys so you can see just how to put it all together. And then ultimately you'll see it done when we have lunch later. I'm going to let these onions cool just a little bit, before I add it to the egg mixture. Don't those look yummy though? Whoa. It smells so good in my house right now. All right guys, time for the fun part. We are going to roll out our pie crust. I know this trick is not new to many of you, but I do not like to overflour things like my pie crust or my cutout cookies. So it is something I do use saran wrap for. So we're just gonna get it kind of started. And then we'll roll it out about 13 inches or so. Okay. And just take one of your pie pans, flip it over. All I'm doing is making sure all the air bubbles are out. There's our pie crust. Then we have our egg mixture. I'm gonna add a pretty decent sized helping of cowboy candy, our sauteed or caramelized onions, and our 8 slices of chopped bacon. Give that a good mix in. And pour it in our pie plate. And then I kind of just give it a little stir just to even out the goodies. Okay. Now it's up to you however you want to do your crust. We absolutely do not do fancy here, so I kind of just trim away the edge. Okay, and this will go into my refrigerator until it's time to bake it. Well guys, I have a ton of hungry people in this house. The table's being set. We have our bacon and onion quiche, our sausage quiche. I just threw together a yummy, fresh from the garden spinach salad with some lemon Stilton cheese, apples, cranberries, and a honey mustard vinaigrette dressing. So we're ready to eat. Thanks for coming along, and I hope this inspires you to cook something yummy for your family. Talk to you guys later.